Please take your seats and extinguish your electronic devices. 7 o'clock. We'll begin our town meeting. So if we could all face the flag with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you read the charge?
Good evening. Town of Ayer Special Annual Fall Town Meeting Warrant. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Middlesex, SS. Greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of the town of Ayer, qualified to vote in town elections and affairs, to meet at the auditorium in the Ayer Shirley Regional High School, located at 141 Washington Street, Ayer, Massachusetts, on Monday, the 25th day of October, 2021, at 7 o'clock in the evening, then and there to act on the following articles. Hereof fail not, and make due return of this warrant, with your doings thereof to the town clerk, before the date appointed for said meeting. Given under our hands this 5th day of October, AD 2021, Sean C. Copeland, Chair, Scott A. Hood, Vice Chair, Janice L. Livingston, Clerk, Ayer Select Board. A true copy attest, Susan E. Copeland, Town Clerk, October 8th, 2021. As directed in the foregoing warrant, I have this day posted 3 attested copies in 3 public places, one of which was the Town Hall at least 14 days before said meeting, all as herein directed. Samuel A. Goodwin, Jr., Constable, October 8th, 2021.
Thank you. I'd like to ask you to take a moment of silence for Paul Bresnahan, a dedicated and supportive resident of Ayer who passed away this past few days. Thank you. I'd like to introduce those up on the stage. To my left is Mark Smith, Vice Chair of the Finance Committee, Susan Copeland, our hardworking town clerk, and over here on this side we have Sean Copeland, Chair of the Select Board. To his right is Scott Hood, Vice Chair. Behind him in the dark is Janice Livingston, and to her left is Robert Pontrion, our town manager. Mr. Pontrion, would you walk, and down below the stage right over here is Mr. Mark Rich. Could you stand? Mark Rich, he's our town council from Copeland and Page. Could you introduce your department heads?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Can you hear me? No. Mr. Moderator, it takes a great team for any town, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce our
department heads, Ms. Carly Antonellis, Assistant Town Manager, Police Chief Brian Gill, Fire Chief Tim Johnston, Dan Van Schalwick, our new DPW Director, Mr. Mark Wetzel, our Special Projects Manager, and our recently retired DPW Director. Mark, thank you for your service. Mark Archambault, the Town Planner, Ms. Joanne Christoph, the Conservation Agent, Ms. Lisa Gabri, Finance Manager, Mr. Alan Minoyan, Director of Community and Economic Development, Ms. Alicia Hersey, Community Development, Mr. Kevin Johnston, Benefits and Payroll Manager, Mr. Charlie Schultz, Building Commissioner, Mr. Jeff Thomas, Parks and Recreation Director, Ms. Julie Thomas, Animal Control, Mr. Chuck Schultz, Facilities Director, and as mentioned, Mark Rich from Copeland and Page Town Council. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you all for your service. I'd just like to make a couple of remarks as to the rules of the meeting. Raise your hand if you wish to speak. When I recognize you to speak, either come to the front microphone or a roaming microphone will be brought to you. Please first state your name and address for the record. I'm going to ask you that when you get up to speak, keep in mind that those around you are your neighbors and friends. They are volunteering their time to consider these important town matters. Remember to direct your thoughts and questions to me. I will then recognize someone to answer the question if necessary. If I raise my hand while you are speaking, it means that I wish to have a conversation with you. Please pause your speaking and wait for my response. As regard to speaking times, I'd like to quote Mr. Jim Doherty, Andover's moderator until the age of 90, upon the question of time limits for speakers. I don't have a formal limit, he said, but I did tell the meeting about 3 minutes is enough for anyone. After 5, you put them to sleep. After 7, they're going to go to vote against you, even if they agree with you. I urge you to take this sage advice to heart, and remember, if a point has been made once, there's no need to repeat it again. Ayer's town meeting is conducted in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 39, 43A, and the town bylaws, with guidance provided by the principles and rules of conduct included in Town Meeting Time, a book that you can either purchase for $27 from Mass Moderators Association, or as my wife encouraged me to think about, you can check it out from the local library network. When we vote, I'll ask you to raise your white cards, and I promise this doesn't mean a bountiful snowstorm is coming next week like it did last year, which you received a check-in. Before voting begins, I'll restate the motion and necessary vote. I will count first those in favor and then those opposed. If I'm unable to determine that there is a supermajority, 2/3, I will ask you to stand and the tellers will count the vote. If 7 voters question the vote, they may rise and I will direct the tellers to confirm and/or correct the count by a standing vote. If town meeting is in session at 8:30, I will call for a 10-minute recess at that time. Please return promptly and with respect to our COVID-19 precautions, maintain social distancing and do not linger or congregate. I want to offer a warm welcome to anyone who has not before attended town meeting or has only attended 1 or 2 meetings in the past. We all look forward to your points of view, your questions and comments, and most importantly, your votes. Thank you for being here this evening. Now I'd like to recognize Mark Smith, Vice Chair of the Finance Committee.
It is moved that if all business of the meeting as set forth in the warrant for the special town meeting is not disposed of at this session, when the meeting adjourns, it adjourns to Tuesday, October 26, 2021 at 7 p.m.
What he's asking you to think about is we'll have another date in mind. I don't really think we're going to need the meeting, but this is going to require a 2/3 vote, majority vote? A majority vote. So all in favor, please raise your white card. Okay, thank you. All those against? Okay, the ayes have it. May I have a motion to allow town employees, town council, town hired consultants, and those with pertinent information on an article who are not Ayer voters, who may be giving presentations or answering questions to address the meeting? Do I have a second? All in favor, and this requires 2/3 majority. Please raise your white card. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, the first article is about the cemetery. Let me just pull up the right page. Article 1, transfer the Woodlawn Cemetery. To see if the town will vote to acquire and accept by donation from the Woodlawn Cemetery Company or the current owner of said property, all of the real property known as the Woodlawn Cemetery located at Harvard Road, Ayer, being 2 parcels together containing 10.5 acres more or less, and shown on page parcel 35-20, described in a deed recorded with Middlesex South Registry of Deeds in Book 1438, et cetera, et cetera. So, do we have a motion from?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, please.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to acquire and accept by donation from the Woodlawn Cemetery Company or the current owner of said property all of the real property known as the Woodlawn Cemetery, located at Harvard Road, Ayer, and further to acquire and accept by donation all of the personal property, funds, and accounts of said Woodlawn Cemetery Company owned, maintained, and used in connection with the ownership and operation of the Woodlawn Cemetery, and to authorize the Select Board to take all actions and execute all documents necessary and appropriate for said acquisition and acceptance as contained in Article 1.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay, is there any discussion? I believe that Mr. Pontriand would like to make a short presentation on the matter.
Thank you,
Please
Mr.
do.
Moderator. I have a very brief presentation through you, Mr. Moderator, and you should have received the study report when you came in. I would like to thank Mark Wetzel, the DPW director at the time, Dan Van Shalwick, the town engineer, Lisa Gabri, the finance manager, for all of their work on the study report. So I have a brief presentation. We're looking at Article 1 right now, but Article 2 and 3, they're all 3 of them are related to the transfer. So obviously through the moderator, when we get to Article 2 or 3, there may be more specific questions, but I just want to give an overview. So the first slide. So you'll recall, for those of you who were here back on April 26th of 2021 at the annual town meeting, where you unanimously authorized the town to proceed with the due diligence for the transfer, the Woodlawn Cemetery is a 10.5-acre cemetery dating back to at least 1859. It's been owned and operated by the Woodlawn Cemetery Company, a private board of trustees that has done an excellent job through the years as the stewards for this. It has an active burial cemetery, a veterans burial section, and is considered a historic cemetery. Next slide. And that's an overview. The 2 red boxes are the 2 parcels. There's the Ayer Rotary on this side. One of the parcels is near the Wendy's, and then across the street, next to sort of All Town Fresh, to give you sort of a point of context of the actual parcels. Next slide is sort of the satellite Google map view of the cemetery, courtesy of the DPW, just to orientate what we're discussing. Next. So why transfer the cemetery to the town? And I think the first key point that everybody needs to know is that the Woodlawn Cemetery was a cemetery and burial ground, and it will be forever. So it's important to note that if the transfer goes through, there are no alternative plans. There can't be under the law. This will remain a historic cemetery, an active cemetery, and we will be the stewards for this for the foreseeable future. The Woodlawn Cemetery trustees approached the town in 2018, 2019, before COVID, expressing a desire to transfer the cemetery over to the town. They've done an excellent job through the years. Some of them would like to retire, but also the main challenge is that within 3 to 4 years, they'll be completely out of funding. They have approximately $80,000 in funding. It's costing close to $20,000 a year to operate. They want to do the proactive thing and have the town resume the maintenance and operations from them. And as I said back in April, it's really a moral, ethical, and legal obligation for us to be good stewards and custodians to this cemetery. Next. So the progress to date on the transfer. On April 26th of 2021, town meeting unanimously passed Article 27, authorizing the town to commence with all of the appropriate due diligence prior to the transfer and to come back with a formal report and recommendation to complete the transfer at this fall town meeting. From May 2021 to the present, the cemetery working group, consisting of the town manager, the DPW superintendent, town engineer, and finance manager, conducted all due diligence and completed the study report. This was also on legal matters, also in consultation with town council. On October 15th, the formal study report and recommendation was issued to the select board. Formal presentation was made on October 19th. And then tonight, before you is the consideration of Articles 1, 2, and 3. Next. So what would the transfer consist of? If town meeting approves, the transfer of the 10.5-acre cemetery would transfer to the town. The town would be the legal owner responsible for operations and maintenance of the cemetery, the transfer of any personal property and equipment to the town. Additionally, the transfer of all Woodlawn Cemetery funds and perpetual care funds to the town. There's approximately $80,000 in funds, $60,000 for perpetual care, $20,000 in the general account. Those would be transferred to the town and could only be specifically used for cemetery purposes. The town would receive $1,000 a year for the care of the National Cemetery component of the cemetery, and the town would be responsible to continue to sell graves and burials moving forward. Additionally, the town would assume the responsibility for all operations and maintenance of the cemetery. As mentioned, the estimated cost for Woodlawn has been approximately $20,000 a year and increasing. The town study indicates, and this was done by the DPW director, that the estimated operating costs at this time are approximately $40,000 a year for the town. Next. And here's the proposed budget as prepared by the Director of Public Works, Mark Wetzel, reviewed company budgets for the past few years, looked at administrative tasks to be performed by DPW staff, wages based on DPW Highway Division, but will also go out for further competitive bids. So it's important to note the wages of $33,000, that's for the town's, the plan is for the town's Department of Public Works Highway Division to do the maintenance. There's some small amount for contractor services, repairs and maintenance, and cemetery supplies. And this is really what Article 2 looks to do if the transfer goes through, is to provide the funding. Next slide. So the transfer process and implementation plan. So the passage of Article 1 tonight would authorize the town to proceed with the transfer to the town. The estimated date for the transfer would be January 1st of 2022. The passage of Article 2 would authorize the funding in the amount of $41,000 for the DPW administrative and operations costs through FY22. The DPW would assume administrative and operational responsibilities on January 1st. And then the passage of Article 3 tonight would authorize the creation of an appointed cemetery commission and place the ballot question on the annual town election to be held on May 10th of 2022. So this is a two-part process. Town meeting would have to authorize, and then the voters would have to vote at the annual town election to approve that. Upon passage by the voters at the annual election, the select board would publicly advertise the appointment process and make the cemetery commission appointments in June of 2022. The cemetery commission would be responsible for the policies of the Woodlawn Cemetery. And I think, Mr. Moderator, that concludes the presentation.
That concludes your presentation. Okay, is there any discussion? Ms. Withy? What is the question? You'd address it to me, and then please come forward to the mic.
Before town meeting acts, when does the planning board plan to adopt the OSRD regulations? That's open space residential development regulations. And are the regulations going to impact this property?
Yes, sir.
There's plenty of open space around these 10.5 acres. There's 2 parcels here, and the one's on the dirt. Okay.
Yes. Ms. Withy,
I've-
it may be that the cemetery is a confined space, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I plan on having someplace to go when it's my turn. So we may need to have some more space.
Okay. I'll sit down. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Please come forward and state your name and address.
Hi, Michael Fertoni, 58 Snake Hill Road. My question is income. Does this, what's up, is there any estimate on what kind of income this generates? Will it pay for itself, or is this really just another cost?
Mr. Manager?
Mr. Moderator, excellent question as to the cost. So we will receive the $80,000 from Woodlawn. We then will be selling graves, cremations, and so forth moving forward. Looking at that in the reports of the income coming to the town for that would be anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 a year for those services. So it looks like there will be a cost impact to the town. In other words, it would be nice if the transfer was seamless and there were no costs to the town, but even with the sales and so forth, would still be short.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Please come forward. State your name and address.
Susan Tordella, 5 Hedgeway. So going forward, will there be any income? I wasn't clear on that answer. Is it just because of the transfer that it's going to cost $41,000?
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, please.
To Ms. Tordella's question, there will be some income. So from the sale of graves and burials,
Right.
we anticipate, depending on the frequency, from $5,000 to $15,000 a year coming in for that.
How much is a plot?
It's $800 for $800 a plot is the current Woodlawn
All right.
rates.
No
Now,
wonder they're going broke.
well, in all fairness, one of the things that the Cemetery Commission will need to look at is pricing. The other piece I would just add through the moderator, with a $26 million budget, a $40,000 investment is different than when you only have $80,000 and you're looking at $20,000 a year. The final piece is, in talking with the Director of Economic Development and so forth, there are grant opportunities too for different functions of historic cemeteries, but also the veterans piece. And we feel the town would be better positioned if it was a municipal cemetery to look at those opportunities as well.
How many plots are open that can be bought?
320.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so now I have a question, and I don't know if it'll be part of this motion, but will green burials be allowed?
So,
Mr. Manager? Go ahead.
Go ahead, he said.
okay, green burials.
Yeah.
I would say that one of the reasons we want to have a cemetery commission is for that to look at that. And so I would say tonight that isn't off the table. I don't believe that's something that's offered now, but I think that's definitely an opportunity for the future as that is sort of the trend.
Right, well, would it be better to make it a requirement going into it? I mean, is that possible within the outline of this of this article tonight?
Mi-
Help me here. Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
You have the book on moderating. Would this be an appropriate amendment to offer?
No, I think it wasn't warned to the voters, so specifically what we're going to do next spring when we choose whether or not to have a cemetery commission as established, if it's voted on by this meeting, is we can come up with more policies. But This discussion is limited to the transfer of the cemetery in this article.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator, there's a hand over here.
Excuse me?
Over that way.
Okay. Oh, please come forward to the mic.
Hi, Jim Naring, 35 Highland Avenue. In general terms, what is the benefit to the town of purchasing this property? And in general terms, what is the potential cost of not purchasing this property? Thank you.
I do believe that the manager kind of addressed that, but could you reiterate the finer points?
Mr. Moderator, through you, we're at a unique crossroads, and I applaud the Woodlawn Cemetery for coming forward. If the town does not approve the transfer, then the Woodlawn Cemetery would continue to operate the cemetery. However, their funding is about to run out. As I mentioned in the presentation, they have about $80,000. Their operating costs are approximately $20,000 a year, and like everything, increasing. So at some point, and we anticipate that to be in the next 3 to 4 years, they would have no more funding. Our argument is, first of all, that cemetery is a sacred burial for veterans from this town, residents, future residents that have bought there, that we have an obligation to maintain it and to continue it as a cemetery. Also, if they were not able to do the maintenance, and they've done a good job, if they were not able to do the maintenance, I can assure you my phone will come off the hook. We have an obligation to maintain that. So I would argue that the implication, if it isn't transferred, Woodlawn has a couple more years, and then inevitably the town, I would argue, would still need to intervene to do the correct thing. I think this is an opportunity to be proactive with the transfer for the future.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Does anyone from the Cemetery Commission, the Woodlawn Cemetery group, wish to speak? Yes. Please come forward to the mic.
Hi. My name is Virginia Matthews. I'm the treasurer for the cemetery, and I have been for 25 years, or close to that. I believe that the cemetery belongs to the town. I believe it belonged to the town from the beginning. Groton set that cemetery up, and then at some point set up directors, and Groton has no say in the cemetery because it was turned over to people in Ayer to direct it and maintain it. And I think it's time for the town to actually legally take the cemetery. The expenses the past few years have grown for us. For the town, it would be nothing. Our costs and our interest on our accounts, our savings accounts, everybody knows they've dropped pennies. And that was something that helped us keep going for many years. But when you're getting pennies on your accounts, it doesn't help you to keep going. So I really believe that the town has always basically somewhere owned the cemetery. I think now it should be legally done.
Thank you, Mrs. Matthews. Is there anyone else that would, yes, please.
Highland Avenue, Lori Nearing. I have actually three questions and one comment. One question is it common for other towns and villages in Massachusetts to own and manage cemeteries? And assuming we go forward with this, how would one go about contacting somebody to purchase a grave site? They approach DPW? How would it work?
Well, I'll just step in for a second. I used to live in Arlington. Arlington has a town cemetery, and it's been functioning very well for the residents. At this point, I believe Mr. Manager can answer the question, But if someone such as the DPW was managing it, and I understand that our clerk will keep track of the burials, obviously someone would manage the sites and determine how many graves were available and make arrangements to have it happen. Would that answer the question, or do you want to elaborate?
Just to add to that, Mr. Moderator, so Ms. Nearing, to your question, first, it's actually very common that towns have a cemetery. Ayer is unique that it doesn't. Chapter 114, Section 10 in Massachusetts law states that a town shall have a suitable, provide at least one or more suitable burial places. So actually, this would sort of put us in compliance with that in the sense of a municipal cemetery. To answer your question on as moving forward on January 1st, the Department of Public Works will be the contact for a cemetery inquiry. So if somebody wanted to purchase a lot, if somebody had a burial issue, granted a lot of those are handled by the funeral directors, but the DPW office will be the point office. We will have a web page. We'll do the appropriate at that point. So that will be your point of contact for cemetery services.
Thank you. My final question actually goes back to what Ms. Tordelia was asking a little bit ago, which is, I believe that the cemetery is located in the Zone 2 aquifer zone of our Grove Pond wells, and there have been studies that show that older cemeteries tend to seep the fluids that we use to preserve bodies. And so considering a green cemetery may very well be a really good solution, an important solution that I want to put on the table to think about when we form the commission in the May meeting. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, if not, I shall take a vote. So we're going to vote on the motion for Article 1 to authorize the Select Board to complete and accept the transfer by donation from the Woodlawn Cemetery. This is a simple majority vote. All in favor, please raise your white cards. All opposed? I believe it's more than a 2/3 majority, and I so declare it. The motion is passed. The second article before us tonight is the funding for the Woodlawn Cemetery, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from other available funds the sum of $41,000 to fund the operations of the Woodlawn Cemetery, including any incidental or related costs and expenses, or take any action thereon or in relation thereto. Mr. Hood?
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $41,000 to fund the operations of the Woodlawn Cemetery as contained in Article 2.
Seconded.
Have you completed your discussion, Mr. Pontbriand, or do you wish to add now that we're on to Article 2?
Mr. Moderator, I covered that in the presentation, so through you if there's specific questions on Article 2.
Okay. Is there any discussion on Article 2? Ms. Connolly, please come forward and go to a mic. State your name and address.
Pauline Conley, Cambridge Street. My question is more for clarification purposes. The written report, which was attached to the article on the website, specifically says on page 11 that the $41,000 we are being asked to authorize tonight is for the annual operating budget of the Woodlawn Cemetery once it becomes owned by the town, which is expected to take place in January 2022. In January 2022, there will only be 6 months left of the year. So my question is, if $41,000 is the annual operating budget, why do we need that for 6 months? Shouldn't it be closer to $20,000? And Mr. Moderator, I have a second question unrelated to that topic,
Okay.
or to that question.
Does Ms. Gabri wish to speak on the matter, or Mr. Pontbriand?
Mr. Moderator, through you,
Yes.
I'd ask that Mr. Wetzel, who was the former DPW director, who put the budget piece together, through you, answer the question?
Yes, please, Mr. Wetzel, come forward.
Thank you. So, as most of you probably know, we've never run a cemetery before, so we don't have a lot of background on what the costs are. I looked at the trustees' expenses and operating costs, and then said, okay, if the DPW did this, this is how many hours it would take times a certain rate. But it's kind of a little bit of a guesstimate at this point. So is 41,000? It's probably more than enough, but we don't know until we really get going on it. There is going to be a lot of setup costs with transferring the database and getting that all set up and figuring out what our operations are from an administrative point of view. So it'll take a little while to get up to speed. So there's probably some initial costs that once we get going are not going to be an annual cost.
Okay. And when your other question, Ms. Conley?
My second question is more of a question of clarification. Mr. Pomperian has mentioned that when the cemetery transfers, $80,000 will actually be transferred with it. My conversations with current Woodlawn Cemetery committee members, tells me that that $80,000 is specifically earmarked for perpetual care for specific graves as paid for by those grave owners, the family members. I want clarification of that so that money can't just be used for anything. And my understanding is there is actually another $20,000 in CDs or other funds, other accounts that could actually become usable for part of this $41,000. None of that has been presented tonight, so I would just like to know before we decide how much of our tax dollars are actually going to this project. I'm not opposed to it. I just want clarification of the funding.
Mr. Moderator, through you, and perhaps Ms. Conley didn't hear me in the beginning, I said $80,000 will be transferred, of which $60,000 is perpetual care. It has to specifically, under Massachusetts law, be used for that perpetual care. The additional $20,000, which is from their general accounts, can be used for other purposes, but they have to be cemetery purposes. So the $80,000, to be clear, the $80,000, if the transfer goes through, of that $80,000, $60,000 will go into a perpetual care account overseen by the town. The other $20,000 will come to the town and will have to be used for cemetery purposes specifically. So the transfer, none of this funding will go into the general fund. $60,000 into the perpetual, $20,000 into cemetery, and then all of you will see at the annual town meeting the FY23 budget for the cemetery and be able to ask questions and vote on that. So there'll be an FY23 budget developed.
Will we be setting up a special reserve or enterprise fund for the balances in the account?
Mr. Moderator, through you, that's the intent if the transfer goes through. All of these funds that we will get from Woodlawn will be specifically for cemetery purposes, $60,000 for perpetual care, $20,000 for cemetery purposes. The $41,000 is additional funding, and as the superintendent mentioned, there is some contingency or buffer in there as that this is sort of a new thing for the town. Obviously, if that's not spent, it will revert back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Any further questions on Article 2?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes.
this lady, this question is for the gentle lady that works over at the cemetery.
Wait a minute, could you please state your name and address?
Elizabeth Bedurtho, 28 Coolidge Road here.
Okay.
I have a question for her.
Yes, go ahead.
Is that okay? What is your total budget for the year?
Virginia, could you take a mic so that everybody can hear you? Sorry to ask you to stand, but...
Turn around this way so I can face her, I guess. We never really set up a budget each year. We never know from one year to the next. Last year, we had the pandemic, and we could hardly keep up with all the services that we had to provide last year. Another year, there may have been just 2 or 3 burials, so it's hard to make a budget when you don't know, so we have to depend on our CDs or investments that we have to draw on.
So where does most of your money come from to finance that?
Well, selling the graves and the lots. The graves, you pay for perpetual care and a lot when you buy it. And then when we bury a person, whether it's ashes or a full burial, we get income from that.
I see. Okay, I think they've been doing it for 20-something years, and they've maintained a perpetual, seems like, decent budget. And they're just starting to have trouble now because of everything that's been going on. But I just think we're just to caution people of the cost, we like to spend money. And I'm not saying that's not a good thing.
That 41,000 is sufficient, or even less. It depends on the year, as I say. It depends how many people die in a year.
Right.
That's basically our business.
Yeah. I figured that 41 to 45,000 would be enough for the year. Okay, thank you.
I will ask that people address the moderator with the questions, please. If the people at the head table are willing to do it, we all have to do it. And it's much easier if I can manage the debate and that I know that people have identified themselves, because Ms. Copeland here is voraciously writing everybody's name down when they say something, and it's really hard to keep track of it all otherwise. Do we have any more questions regarding the... Move the question, okay. There's been a motion to terminate debate, requires a 2/3 majority. All in favor, please raise their card. All those against? Motion carries. Debate's ended. We will now begin to vote, or complete the vote on Article 2, which is a simple majority. All in favor of Article 2, funding of $41,000 for the Woodlawn Cemetery as a preliminary budget hold, please raise your card. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Motion carries. We'll move on to Article 3. Article 3 is the establishment of an appointed cemetery commission. To see if the town will vote pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 114, Section 27, to authorize the creation of a 3-member cemetery commission to be appointed by the Select Board, which commission shall be responsible to maintain the public cemetery in the town. Each member of said commission to be appointed for a 3-year term, and further authorize placement of a ballot question to this effect before the voters at the annual town election to be held on May 10th of 2022 in accordance with the provision of General Law 41, Section 21, in the form as stated in the statute or take any action thereto. This basically authorizes a 3-member commission to assist the Select Board in the management of the cemetery.
Mr. Moderator?
Before we can discuss it, we need to have a motion from Ms.
Mr.
Livingston.
Moderator, I'm trying
Yes.
to make the motion.
Oh,
That's why I
okay.
keep calling you.
Well, I'm going to call on you, Janice. Thank you. Please make the motion.
Okay. I move that the town vote to authorize the creation of a 3-member cemetery commission to be appointed by the Select Board pursuant to the provisions of General Law, Chapter 114, Section 27, and further authorize the placement of a ballot question to this effect before the voters at the annual town election to be held on May 10, 2022, in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 41, Section 21, as contained in Article 3.
Do we have any discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Yes, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Manager.
I touched upon this in the presentation, which was a few moments ago, on the third piece, which is the governance of the cemetery. And I think it's important to note that the plan with the transfer, so in terms of all of the maintenance of the cemetery, the mowing, et cetera, all of the physical maintenance would be assumed by the Department of Public Works. Additionally, the Department of Public Works will handle the selling of graves and all of the inquiries, as I mentioned earlier. The town clerk will play a role with the deeds for those graves and so forth. All money collected has to be turned over to the town treasurer, as we move forward. And then as we looked at this process, we said, what about the issue of governance? And when you look at this, there's all types of models. There are some towns that don't have a cemetery commission. It rests with the DPW or the DPW and the Parks Department and so forth. And we felt that there should be a commission that looks at, for example, not just the issue of pricing, the issue of policies of the park, and you see some of the cemetery, you see samples in the report of that. And also, as mentioned tonight, folks are talking about green burials and so forth, that those should be the decisions of a cemetery commission. And the recommendation is that it be appointed. And some may ask, well, why isn't it elected? Our recommendation for the appointed commission is more, and if you look at it across Massachusetts, it splits right down about the middle. Some are appointed, some are elected. Looking at this as a best practice, it's sort of consistent with the Conservation Commission, which is appointed, the Zoning Board of Appeals, which is appointed, the Historical Commission, which is appointed, the CPC, which is appointed. And since 2015, on the elected front, we've had 10 vacancies for elected positions, 4 this past year alone in 2021. How does the appointment process work? To be clear, the town manager does not make those appointments. We would advertise them for a period of 2 weeks. People would send letters of interest to the select board. The select board at a public meeting can interview candidates and then appoint them to the term. It'd be a 3-year term. If people resign, there'd be an appointment process. The requirement is simple: to be just 18 years of age and live in the town of Ayer. And so, to conclude, that's sort of our recommendation for the governance mechanism. As the moderator mentioned, if Article 3 passes, it will go on the ballot at May 10th, 2022, to ask all voters, shall the town vote to have its select board appoint the cemetery commission? Yes or no. If it passes the ballot, then we will proceed, the select board will proceed with the appointment process, which would be anticipated to be in June of 2022. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
You're welcome. Yes, Ms. Conley.
So Mr. Pomperian touched on exactly why I'm standing. The Chapter 114 of the general laws provides option to elect under Section 22 or option to appoint under Section 27. We are only being given one option here tonight, and that would be for the appointment of commissioners, which are interviewed by the town manager and then recommended to the selectmen for appointment, as opposed to allowing us, the voters of Ayer, to independently elect individuals who are interested in serving on the commission. So I guess what I would like to do is give us that option in Article 3. I'm not exactly sure the correct process of doing so. Do we replace Article 3 with a different article, or do we include language in Article 3? I guess you can't have an either-or article. So there has to be either a vote on Article 3 in the affirmative or a motion to change Article 3 to allow the election under Section 22. That election would also occur in May 2022, as the same as the proposed appointment board would be elected by a ballot question as opposed to an actual election ballot. My clarification of that is we choose people on a ballot to run for or to serve in office, whereas there would be then a question on the ballot if the appointed committee is already selected or is the appointed committee is affirmed, then there would be a question whether to accept that appointed committee, and the committee would not yet serve until after they were appointed. If we elect, they serve immediately upon election and swearing in by yourself or Ms. Copeland. My preference, as a voter of the town of Ayer, a long time resident, is that we elect as many boards and committees as possible. If not given that opportunity, we don't have it. Sorry, my question is actually to you, Mr. Moderator. What do we do with this?
As much as I understand your question, the difficulty that I have, and I've said this to some before, is that once the warrants is posted, it is warned to the inhabitants of the town, and any variation from that, subject of a minor grammatical change or other simple change, would be considered within scope. But to change the chapter section that you're speaking about, I've conferred with our town council, and the only option that you would have is to vote or make a substitute motion for no action. But the motion on the floor right now is to authorize and establish an appointed cemetery commission. So if you wish to make another motion, you can make a substitution, and we will immediately vote on that substitute motion. But the motion on the floor, unfortunately, is reflective of the article, so we have to stick with that.
Understood, Mr. Moderator, but is there not another alternative? And that would be simply to vote no for an appointed committee and then wait until the April town meeting to have an elected committee. Is that an option available?
Could I ask you to stand, Mr. Rich, and answer the question? Can someone, oh, there's a mic right there.
Yes, this one works. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, through you to the meeting. As has been presented, there are two statutory options with respect to the creation of a cemetery commission. There's the elected statutory process under Section 22 of Chapter 114, and then under Section 27 of Chapter 114, there's the appointed process. They are two very different procedures, obviously. In order to proceed under Section 22 for an elected cemetery commission, the town would have to vote to accept the statute section, the four sections of the statute specifically that create and govern a cemetery commission. Those options are not before the town right now. So the only option that was presented, and keep in mind, the warrant is under the hand of the select board. Select board presents the warrants, as the moderator has explained. Town meeting is constrained by what's in the warrant and what motions might be within the scope of the article that's presented. So right now, the only option that the town is being presented is the appointment process, which is then subject to the election, the ballot question at the annual town election. So the elected cemetery commission option is not before the board, not before the town meeting tonight. Town meeting would either vote this option, this appointed board, up or down. If town meeting votes it down, the charge of the cemetery would be with the select board until such time as action was taken. So certainly it could come back at a future town meeting. But right now, the only option available to town meeting, in my opinion, based upon what's in the warrant, is for the appointed board of cemetery commissioners. And should the town, at town meeting tonight, vote to authorize that, it would then go before the voters of the entire town to elect, to choose through the town election to authorize the appointment by the select board. And it's, again, appointment by the select board, not the town manager. So that's the option that you are presented with tonight. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
And as Mr. Rich had mentioned, Chapter 114, Section 23 to 26 are very specific in the establishment of an elected cemetery commission. Absent of doing that first is putting the cart after the horse, or the cart before the horse, or the horse before the cart. Which way? Anyway, is there any further discussion regarding the question?
Mr. Moderator, with respect to what Mr. Rich just explained,
Yes?
is it possible to at least allow the meeting to understand what 22, 23, 24, and 25 are, which are not complicated, and speak to some of the questions that were already asked tonight about what the commission would do?
If I may, Mr. Moderator, quite frankly, those sections of the statute, because they pertain to an elected cemetery commission, they are not before the meeting tonight. Just briefly, just in the interest of clarifying, Section 23 is the powers and duties of the Cemetery Commission. 24 would be conveyance of burial lots and recording and fees. 25 is gifts or bequests for cemeteries, investment of funds, disposition of proceeds of sale of lot or burial rights. And Section 26 is limit of debts or liabilities and annual report of the Cemetery Commission. It's really the governance of the Cemetery Commission. But again, Mr. Moderator, those are not actually before us tonight, so I gave that summary as just a courtesy, but that is not before the board, before the
Right,
meeting
and I do
tonight.
appreciate that, but I
Thank you,
wanted
Mr. Moderator.
to clarify that so that people would understand the options. Yes, is there any further discussion? If not, we'll, oh, wait a minute, I can't see the person. Okay, please stand and state your name for the record and address.
Hi, Denise Peralt, 181 Willard Street. I just want to be clear about the two options. So if we vote no, then what can happen in the future? If we vote yes, obviously, it'll agree to that. But if we vote no, because we're not for the commission or the appointment, so what can happen in the future instead of?
Through you, Mr. Moderator, if town meeting votes no tonight, the select board would essentially oversee the cemetery. There will be the opportunity for the select board at a future meeting to bring the question back to town meeting, either again for an appointed board of cemetery commissioners or to seek authorization for the election through the acceptance of the statutory provisions that we just discussed. So again, right now it's up or down on an appointed. If it fails, the select board would have charge of the cemetery and at a future meeting could present one of these two options again to town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. We had a move to motion the question. All in favor, seconded. All in favor of moving the question, please raise your cards. All opposed? The ayes have it. So the question has been moved. We'll entertain a vote on Article 3 to move that the town authorize the creation of a 3-member cemetery commission to be appointed by the Select Board pursuant to visions of Chapter 114 as previously stated. All those in favor, please raise your cards. All those opposed? Let's do that again. I just want to make sure. All those in favor? Can you help me count? It looks like it's a supermajority vote. I think we have more than sufficient. Okay, the chair was in doubt first, but I'm glad with the capable assistance of Ms. Copeland. The motion does pass, and I so declare it. We shall move on to Article 4 about the cell tower lease. To see if the town will vote to transfer the care, custody, management, and control of the property described below from the Select Board for Public Works purposes to the Board of the Select Board for public, for the purpose of leasing for telecommunication purposes and to authorize the Select Board to enter into such a lease as stated in the warrant.
Mr.
Ms.
Moderator.
Copeland, or Mr. Copeland?
I move that the town vote to transfer the care, custody, management, and control of the property described in Article 4 from the Select Board for Public Works purposes to the Select Board for Public Works purposes and for the purposes of leasing for telecommunications purposes, and to authorize the Select Board to enter into such a lease or leases for telecommunications purposes for all or a portion of the land, and to authorize the Select Board to grant such non-exclusive access and utility easements as the Select Board deems appropriate, and to enter into such agreements and execute such instruments necessary to effectuate the purposes of Article 4.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Mr. Pontbriand, do you have
Mr.
short
Moderator,
presentation on
just
this?
for everyone's benefit, and Cindy, do you have the? So what Article 4 currently, see, some of you may have seen this cell tower. It's down at 25 Brook Street on the DPW complex. The cell tower is on town land. The town of Ayer leases that land. Currently, the tower is owned by SBA Towers, and then there's other telecommunication providers that have antennas on it. That lease is set to expire on January of 2023. In Massachusetts, the lease is required to go out to a public competitive bid process. So what Article 4 is asking town meeting is to authorize the select board to renegotiate the lease and to go out to bid. Now this this current lease has generated approximately $900,000 over the last 20 years. If town meeting approves Article 4, the town will then issue a new lease through the competitive process. It's advertised publicly. It goes through the whole, it's governed by state law, and the town determines the proposal that is most advantageous to the town. And one of those criteria will be obviously the amount of lease payment to the town. If SBA is successful, then they will continue with the tower. In the event that SBA is not the selected bid, then they would have to decommission the tower and somebody else would move forward. So to conclude, Article 4 is looking for your authorization for the town to go out to bid for the renegotiation of the lease for the cell tower.
Thank you. Any questions on Article 4? If not, we're ready for a vote. Oh, wait a minute. Where are they? Oh, okay.
Jeff May, 72 Pleasant. So just to confirm, if SBA does not get the lease, they could kill all service right there because they own everything, including the tower. We're just leasing them the land for the tower. Just out of curiosity.
Mr. Moderator, through you to Mr. Mays. Yes, theoretically, if SBA wasn't selected, another firm may be for the tower. I can say this through the moderator that SBA is obviously very interested in bidding on all of this infrastructure they've invested in.
Thank you. Is there any further questions regarding Article 4? If not, we'll take a vote. All those in favor, and this is going to require a two-thirds vote. So all in favor, please raise your cards. All opposed? The motion carries unanimously, and I so declare it. And before we continue to Article 5, I'd like to take recognition to the woman up in the box in the back. If you could just look. If it wasn't for Cindy Knox, we wouldn't have what's on the screen here. She's our IT director and been doing a great job. Hi. She makes me look good up here. The next article, Article 5, is on the Community Preservation Committee funding to update the Community Preservation 5-year plan. To see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $21,000 to update the Community Preservation Plan or take any action thereto. Mr. Hood, do you have a motion?
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $21,000 from the Community Preservation Fund fiscal year 2022 balance reserve for undesignated reserve, the sum of $21,000 to fund updating the Community Preservation Fund 5-year production plan as contained in Article 5.
Seconded.
Do we have Miss Pravadakis here as the chair of the Community Preservation Committee? I'm here. Oh, please come up. Do you have anything to ask or say? No. Well, don't be bashful. Take the mic first. When doesn't someone not have something to say?
we're looking for $21,000 to go ahead and do the 5-year plan. It's been long overdue. Just to go ahead and let you know, we waited until all the other documents really have been done, the master plan, open space and rec, the housing production plan. So we're hoping that all this will go ahead and still continue moving us forward. So we do look for your support. Any questions?
Would you like to recognize those present from the Community Preservation Committee that have been working hard with you all year?
Yeah, I don't know if everybody is all here, so I'd rather not do that. But guys, you know you're great. Thank you. All right. And thank you for the town. I mean, for sure. Yeah. So there's a question? Yeah.
Mr. Moderator.
Yes.
Elizabeth Bedurtha, Ayer,
Yes.
28 Coles Road. I just have a quick question. What is this money going to be used for exactly?
Ms. Pravadakis?
All right. To go ahead and tell you, we have to hire a consultant to go ahead and produce a production plan. All right, so with that, it's just like when they hired the Community Opportunities Group to do the master plan. They interview and they do all the background information of what the departments are looking for. The company that we're hiring is going to do a GIS study to make sure that we're looking at the proper land that we might be able to take over, look at the housing production plan to see what we can get available for properties that might be available. Moving forward, it gives us a 5-year roadmap, if you want to call it.
I have one more question.
Yes.
So, Mr. Moderator.
Oh, yeah, that's the scope of work. Thank you. Thank you, Cindy.
I just have one more question for you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Moderator. Is this a one-time fee?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay.
Do we have any further questions? Okay, let's take a vote on Article 5. Article 5 is a simple majority vote. All those in favor of Article 5, please raise your card. Okay. All those opposed? It's an almost unanimous vote. We do have a supermajority, and I so declare. Okay, moving on to Article 6, the Community Preservation Committee funding for the Ayer Shirley Regional School District Athletic Field Project. To see if the town will vote to transfer from the Community Preservation Fund for fiscal year 2022, balance reserve from open space category, the sum of $300,000 to fund a portion of the town's costs for the rehabilitation and restoration of land for recreational use, consisting of the installation of a track area at the Ayer Shirley Regional High School District Athletic Field Project. Ms. Livingston? I recognize
Moderator,
you.
I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $300,000 from the Community Preservation Fund
Excuse me,
FY20.
you said 200,000?
No, I said 300,000.
Oh, I thought I heard 2. Is there a 4? No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm going to start over. I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $300,000 from the Community Preservation Fund FY 2022 balance reserve from open space category to fund a portion of the town's costs for the rehabilitation and restoration of land for recreational use, consisting of the installation of a track area as part of the Ayer Shirley Regional School District's athletic field project as contained in Article 6. Mr. Moderator, may I add a comment? Ladies and gentlemen, we are finally here. We can get the field fixed.
Seconded.
Do we have any discussion about Article 6? Yes. Please state your name and address, please.
Lori Nearing, Highland Avenue. I'm wondering how much money is in the open space plan in the Community Preservation Act and how much has been spent to actually purchase open space.
Go ahead, Ms. Pravadakis, come up to the... Please.
Ms. Neary, right now, the open space does have 1 million, this is as of 6/30, okay, 2021, $1,188,000 $2,279.25. How much has been used for open space purposes to go ahead and purchase? Again, we have been trying to find property to go ahead and purchase. Again, until somebody comes forward with any type of open space, we haven't had something since the Tooka property over, it's not Oak Ridge. Is it Oak Ridge? Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at Jess. So thank you, Lisa, for these numbers. That gives you an idea. We do have that $500,000 that got moved over to the Conservation Fund, and I know that the Conservation Committee as well as the Land Use have been looking at properties, and that's one of the things that we'd like to try to do to try to get more land connecting with paths. So that's one of the things that they do have as a warrant. Does that answer? All right.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion regarding Article 6? Yes, sir. Ma'am. Yep.
Edith Stephen, 93 Groton School Road. I just have a question about the field. You're saying you're going to redo the track. I thought we were supposed to be getting a new field. Is that correct or not?
Okay, this is just, Mr.
Go
Moderator?
ahead.
Yeah.
Ms. Pravadakis.
Okay. This is just a portion of it. There's CPA funds that are available for what's called active recreation, and that's part of the open space. This is just one little small portion of the approximately $2.5 million, and it's only the heirs portion.
Okay.
So with that, we're just, on the school committee, or the school district, has asked an heir for CPA funds to help fund the project. So that $300,000, we are setting it just so that it can help to offset the cost of the track.
But we are doing a...
Oh, it's the whole project.
That's
like
what I
say.
thought.
And again, I want to reiterate, this is one of the things that we were looking at when we asked for the increase for 3%, approximately over a year ago, so that we can go ahead and start using monies on properties within the town. So that's one of the items.
Is there any, yes, ma'am.
Ruth Maxent Schultz, 17 Taft Street. 3 years ago, we voted a tax override for a project on the schools and the fields. And then it didn't pass in Shirley, and they voted a different package. And then again, it didn't pass. And then they were on their third one, which finally passed. And all this time, we were told we didn't have to re-vote on the tax override. So whatever we have for our tax override, I'm really confused. I have no idea, even though I've tried to read up on it. And now it seems like this is just smacking, okay, we're taking money out of our pocket for the school system, and now we're taking money out of our pocket, $300,000, that should be used for community preservation. And all along, we were told that these tracks and everything we did at the school, even though it was money out of our pockets on a tax override, it was still going to be able to be used by the community. And so it seems like this just doesn't seem right to me. Even though I agree with having the fields redone, but the whole process seems sort of spurious here. And if someone had some more information, I'd appreciate it.
Refer your question to the moderator. So I will try to see if Ms. Cabri could answer that question. She's our financial town accountant. Yes, please.
Ruth, I can answer part of your question, I think. The $300,000 will help defray the debt exclusion that you're going to have to pay, that you did vote. I can't answer the legal question as far as how long a term that vote is good for. I defer to town council. Huh? You did, didn't you? Did you ask, like, you voted it 3 years ago? And you don't,
Voted
you
on an
think that
override.
this is not,
I'm sorry.
Did you not ask that question?
We voted a particular override package 3 years ago, and
Right.
Shirley then voted a different override package twice before they finally finally went through. So the override package, which was really spectacular, it didn't go through at all. So I don't even know what our override is, what our portion is, because we were never told to vote again. In fact, people actually went down to the town hall on voting day when Shirley was voting, and our town hall told them, no, you don't have to vote again. So the whole thing and now they want another $300,000 out of our taxes that we've already paid.
No, they don't
So
want
it just-
another 300,000. They're asking to use the CPA fund money, the 300,000, to reduce the amount that your taxes will increase. So instead, I think the numbers, I'm going to defer to Dan in a second here, but I think the number is 2.5 for Ayer's share, so it'll be 300,000 from the CPA funds, and the balance will go toward in your taxes as an override. I'll defer to Dan, though, from the school committee.
Yes. Dan, do you know?
I'm Danny Leeson, 24 Howard Street. Yeah, so first of all, I'm no longer on the school committee, but I've been working on a design committee that has been helping the school put the final design points on the project. And so as part of that subcommittee's efforts, I volunteered to pursue with the CPC rather, some funding for the project. So as Ms. Gabri just stated, it's a $5.2 million budget. It's split between Ayer and Shirley based on descriptions that are in the regional agreement regarding capital projects. That right now is about 56% Ayer, 44% Shirley based on enrollment in the district from each town. So 5.2 million, it's about 2.9 million to Ayer, about 2.3 million to Shirley. Cindy does have a slide I could show that with Lisa's help actually we put together when I presented to the CPC with this request. But it is exactly as Lisa described, and I think it's like slide 9 maybe, Cindy, that shows the chart of the tax impact. Oh, a little bit more. There you go. So what Lisa prepared on the left, now I said 2.9 million, this shows what the interest on that bond will be 3.6 million to Ayer based on the debt exclusion from December of 2018. So that would be the cost that's going to come to the taxpayers if this were to, say, not be passed this evening. By allocating 300,000 of CPA funds to the project for the help with the cost of the track portion of the overall project, Ayer's portion with interest drops down to 3.2 million. So you're looking at the $300,000, closer to $350,000 savings based on the interest savings by using CPC money that we've already put into that fund to take it back out of the total cost and reduce the cost of the Ayer taxpayer. So it becomes, instead of a $2.9 million debt exclusion, about $2.6 million is what will have to be repaid by Ayer on the debt exclusion because CPA funds will cover the other $300K.
Thank you. That was very helpful. Mr. Pomprion, do you have anything to add? Okay, do we have any other questions regarding the article?
Is there legality on this type of thing, that we can use the CPA funds for the school?
I think Mrs. Pravadakis already mentioned that because it's open space and it was used for recreational purposes, it does come within the legal implications of what can be used for Community Preservation Commission funds. And I'm getting the nod yes from Mr. Rich, so I guess I'm correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it is legal. And if you ask me as an accountant, it sounds like if we can take $300,000 that we've already put in the tax rolls and use it and save some money on the bond issue, it's a no-brainer. Let's go for it. So, I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I appreciate your personal opinion, but it seems to me that we're piecemealing this a little at a time and taking big chunks of money a little at a time to get the field done. How much does an athletic field actually cost?
I think the question was kind of addressed up here, Elizabeth. I hate to cut it short, but I think we've kind of covered it because I think the presentation of both Dan and Ms. Pravadakis were pretty clear. Is there any further question regarding the issue?
Can I just,
Please.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Bedrotha, if you go out to the town's website, the breakdown of the costs per this field is on the slide presentation, all right, that Mr. Gleason did for CPA, and you can see what every single item, it's not just the field, it's the track, it's you know, more than that. So that whole breakdown is there, okay? All right.
If you could you send her a copy to her email of the PDF of the, not now, but I'm just saying if in the future.
On the webpage.
Okay. Well, the discussion's over anyway. I just thought maybe perhaps it would help Mrs. Bedrotha for later. So if we have no further questions, we'll take up a vote for Article 6, which is a simple majority vote. All those in favor, please raise your cards. All those opposed? It passes with a supermajority, and I so declare it. Okay, now we move towards Article 7. Would people prefer not to have the 10-minute recess and continue with Article 7? Okay, then we'll dispense with it because I think we'll be able to conclude tonight. Well, it depends on how long we're going to talk about fertilizer. But Article 7 is a project of the Conservation Commission working hard to come up with the Town of Ayer fertilizer bylaw. It's quite a lot of material. You all received a copy in the warrant. So rather than read the whole article, since it will be discussed in a presentation, I would defer to a motion by Mr. Copeland.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the general bylaws by inserting therein Article 56, Fertilizer Use Bylaw, as a new bylaw as contained in Article 7.
Seconded.
Okay, we're now discussing Article 7. Do we have a presentation from the Conservation Commission? Yes. Please come forward. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone. My name is John Schmallenberger. I'm the chair of the Conservation Commission. Do we have some slides? We have some slides. In the town of Ayer, we are blessed to have so much water. And with all that water, very few people here are far away from water. And as we all know, what happens in your property or on your property will eventually end up in the ponds and the streams, the wetlands, and it has a negative effect upon all those wetlands. Could I have the next slide, please, Cindy? So over 13.5% of Ayer's topography is composed of open water and diverse wetlands. In addition, 3 important underground aquifers are located within Ayer's boundaries, 2 of which supply drinking water to town residents and businesses. The next slide, please. This is a part of a brochure that was designed by an Ayer resident, Keziah Salter, who I believe is she 12 years old now? Yep, and this was part of a Girl Scout project. She came to us asking us to help distribute these flyers, and we've mailed out, I think, half of what we were going to mail out. At present, the second half will be coming shortly. And because fertilizer use is a more controllable source of excessive nutrient runoff, and because there are reasonable alternatives, this bylaw is an effort to encourage our community to do what we can to minimize and/or mitigate these negative effects and better protect our valuable water resources. There are some of these brochures, I believe, on a table right outside the hall. And next slide, please. These are steps that you can take for a healthy, beautiful, sustainable, organic lawn. We're not proposing that we have unattractive lawns. We want lawns that are healthy. If your ground is healthy, you don't need much fertilizer. The fertilizers that most people use don't feed the ground, they feed the plant only. So you can take a soil test to find out what you need, put down only what you need, fertilize naturally. I looked it up. There are many sources for organic fertilizers, and they're comparable in price. You can mow your grass higher, let your clippings fall down. Don't collect your clippings. It helps mulch your lawn, and you can use less water. Water wisely with conservation in mind. Overseed bare spots in spring and fall. And visit the NOFA Organic Lawn Care to get more information. Mr. Moderator, if I may, could I introduce the commission?
Could you what?
Introduce the commission.
Oh, I'd like you to, please.
Okay, please. I'd like for you to stand up when I call your name. Jenna Maya. She's a member. You can stay standing. Mark Phillips. He's our vice chair. Is George here? George Bacon. George is our sage. He's not here tonight, though. We have Jess Gugino, who is our clerk. We also have our conservation administrator, Joanne Christoph. And these fine people care about the environment. They care about the town of Ayer. They donate a lot of time. They care about you, our friends and neighbors. And this bylaw is something that we can do, we can all pitch in together to make the environment in the town better. So I'm hoping that you will show that you care, and please vote to support this very important bylaw. Thank you.
Before we discuss the matter further, I will mention that it has been thought that this article may have a problem with the AG, the Attorney General's office, because of the fact that we already have a state bylaw, and to have something that further enhances it may cause a problem. Mr. Rich, did you want to just take a moment to address that legality? It's great having a town council here because he can...
Certainly, Mr. Moderator, and thank you for that. I think this is an admirable bylaw and an admirable attempt to regulate something that's very important for regulation. Unfortunately, because we have a concept known as preemption. Preemption means that when the state, or in certain circumstances, the federal government, so-called occupies the field, then there is no room for local regulation in an area where the state has undertaken regulation. And in this case, the state has specifically enacted statutes to address the application and maintenance of fertilizer. And as a result of that, the Attorney General has previously reviewed a similar bylaw and has disallowed it. Town bylaws are subject to approval by the Attorney General, and if the Attorney General does not approve a bylaw, then that bylaw will not be in force and effect. So there is a concern based upon the discussion by the Attorney General and based upon this concept of preemption that this bylaw similarly would be deemed preempted by the Attorney General and so may be disallowed. That doesn't prevent town meeting from voting on it and allowing it to go forward to the Attorney General, but there is that unfortunately significant risk that the Attorney General will determine that this is an area fully regulated by the state and therefore not subject to local regulation. So it's up to the town meeting to determine whether it feels it still wants to go forward on this matter, and if so, send the article, send the proposed bylaw to the Attorney General for review and determination if there is a preemption issue at that time. So again, that concern is there. The prior decision of the Attorney General was to reject a similar bylaw, but again, it's up to town meeting whether to proceed with the bylaw, subject to ultimately the review of the Attorney General. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I'm over here.
Oh, yes, Ms. Livingston.
So what Mark has said to you is correct, but the reason why the board decided to let this go ahead, knowing that, was because what if? To be honest with you, the Attorney General has approved bylaws before that then got shot down in court. So, you know, I understand what he's saying, but I think maybe it's a good idea to at least let the Attorney General know, if nothing else, that maybe we feel that their law isn't quite right and needs some strengthening. And that's one of the reasons why we want to go forward with this. And again, like I said, there's been times when the Attorney General said yes and then the courtroom said no. So.
Yes, sir. Please take a microphone.
Jeff Mays, 72 Pleasant. I fully agree with that statement that I think we should be sending a message. I am all for this. I do have one question, though, in Section 10. Air Conservation Commission will assist in maintaining a program of future, sorry, my glasses are, of fertilizer and turf management education. I'm just curious as to, everything else is regulation.
Oh, speak into the microphone.
Everything else is regulation through those other sections until we get to that one where it's not a regulation, it's a we are going to do. I'm just curious how they plan on going to do that. But I'm in favor for the article.
Can we have either Ms. Christoph or John speak to that matter?
Just raise our hand.
Jess, please. Jessica Gino.
Gino, Mountain View Avenue. We're viewing this, I mean, Mr. Rich is entirely correct that this probably might be subject to state preemption. I just don't want to underscore there is no risk. You said there's a risk of it being rejected, but there's not really a risk. There's no financial risk. There's no legal risk to the town. There already is a state entity, the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources, that does regulate the use of fertilizers on agricultural and non-agricultural turf or lawns. We're seeing this as primarily an educational tool. So when we say assist, that just means that we're also going to try to add on to this that our already overburdened administrator agent, Joanne, we're going to try to develop educational materials and have those available to go along with everything else. Going along with what Ms. Livingston said, the Attorney General, the Acts of 2012 created the responsibility for regulating plant nutrients in 2012. The Attorney General's office rejected a previous attempt by Westwood in 2013. We have a new Attorney General now, and we also have 8 years of experience where we know that state layoffs and cutbacks. Let me just pause for a second. How many here know about the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources and how they regulate the use of fertilizers on your lawns today? Most people do not. And so what I think our argument is, there might be now, 8-9 years later, a good message to send to the state that there in fact is a role for municipalities to start to speak to this to their residents. We're not intending this to be punitive. We're not intending to go out and start policing everything, but to get the message out that this is a good thing that we can do to help protect our resources and at less expense. I mean, anyway, I'll stop speaking, but Does that answer your question?
Okay. The woman over there in the black, I believe you didn't want to speak now? Okay. The gentleman in the red tie, please come forward. You all can see me, but it's hard to see some of you in the dark, so I apologize not by addressing you by name. Maybe next spring.
Jeff Tillotson, Oak Ridge Drive. My wife and I stand in support of this. We hope the town will support it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, Ms. Nearing.
I also want to speak strongly in support of this article. It's so long overdue. Our water is precious. We need to take care of it. I'm guessing everybody in this audience is in support of it, or most of you are. There are a lot of people who don't understand what is being addressed here. It's so important that we take care of our groundwater and our water. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nearing. Any further questions?
Mr.
Yes,
Moderator, Frank's been standing.
Frank
Okay,
Maxey.
Frank.
I support this law. I know the devil is in the details, but regardless of the details, talking about performance standards, every lawn I have ever had to maintain has done just fine, leaving only the grass clippings without chemical fertilizer. So I think this bylaw is all to the good.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, right here in the blue jacket.
My name is Marion Stoddard, 204 Autumn Ridge Drive. I would like to speak in support of this article. I think that it provides a means for the Air Conservation Commission to help educate townspeople about the importance of protecting our water resources. Thank you.
Thank you. In preparing for the meeting, I did talk with Ms. Christoph, and she said the intent of this article was not sanctions and punitive action, but rather education and community support. But let us continue the debate. Go ahead, sir.
Dean Gleason, 24 Howard Street. I just have a question, Mr. Moderator, and perhaps someone from Mr. Thomas from Parks or someone could answer it. It's quite a few years ago, but there was going to be a program done at the town beach to use organic fertilizer as an example of how that could actually produce, you know, a green and thick grass area for play surfaces or whatever down there. But I don't recall ever hearing any results if that was successful or not.
Can anyone answer that? Oh, yes, Mr. Jeff, please. Somebody want to hand Jeff, our Parks Department Director? What's Jeff's last name? Yes, Jeff Thomas. Come up to the microphone if you would.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
So to answer Dan's question, we did do that. That was some time ago, so you've got a great memory. We were approached by I forget the name of the organization, NOFA, I believe it was. What is it? That wasn't it, but anyway, we did quite a bit of work with them as kind of an experiment, and we've been following those practices ever since at the town beach, where we do not fertilize. We use natural organic techniques, mostly aeration, overseeding, and that type of activities to keep that intact. That's a challenging area to try to maintain because of the heavy traffic. We are fortunate that there's a down season that we can do reparative work on it, but we have been using organic practices there for the last 10 years or more, and we think we do pretty well with it.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on Article 7? Yes, sir.
Liam Spinici, 53 Mulberry Circle. I don't have an issue with the law. Enforcement seems to be what I'm going to see. How are you going to actually enforce most of these things? Or is it just going to be potentially the threat of, hey, this is the law, you shouldn't break it? But I don't see really this being feasibly enforced in any way.
Okay, well, thank you. John, could you address that?
John Schmallenberger, number 2 Calvin Street. We don't intend to enforce this. This is educational. I think if we can get the word out to people let them know that there's an alternative, it's a better alternative, that they will just want to comply. So we're not going to go after people.
Sir, with the microphone, the woman over here in the blue would wish to speak. Which, what?
He has the microphone in front of somebody.
Oh,
Where's
I
Max
didn't
and
see
Schultz?
that.
That's working? Okay.
Bear with me, it's
Is
hard
there
to
so
see.
many people use lawn care services that come from out of town? Are you planning to somehow advertise this to those people that they should, either the homeowners should inform their people doing the services or the service people themselves about this regulation?
Mr. Schellenberger? Or Jess?
Hi, Jessica Gino, Conservation Commission. That's a good question, Ruth, but actually, lawn care service companies generally know this already. They're already quite familiar with the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources regulations on this. Our focus is on educating homeowners. We're both subject, both professionals and homeowners are subject to MDAR regulations. It's just that homeowners don't know about it. So.
Thank you. The gentleman in the back over here, or, I guess it's not a gentleman, sorry.
Susan
I can't
Tordella,
see you
5
that well.
Hedgeway. So what we're talking about is something called social marketing. And we've had successful social marketing campaigns to convince people to use seat belts, to not smoke as much, to do other public health things like condom use, okay? People, or bike helmets. So what we need to do as a town is educate, or to make it just everyone does it. Like, when did we remember when we didn't use seat belts? And it's possible, it may be at the point of purchase at Agway or at the stores around at Aubuchon or Moore's. And just to make people aware of what, the more chemicals we put in, then the more weeds grow in the pond, and it just hurts the environment and hurts all of us. So I speak strongly in favor of this motion, and I hope that the town, I guess maybe citizens could undertake the social marketing and, you know, mailings, et cetera, posters. I think there's a lot of ways we could do this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll take a vote on Article 7.
Well, someone just stood up.
Wait a minute.
Hi, Kevin Murphy, 20 William Street. Under existing law, if we, in the spirit of this, if we have a runoff pollution concern, what should we do? Who do we talk to? Thank you.
John Schellenberger, do you want to answer what the conservation does to, or Jess?
I'll give that over to Jess.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the MDAR already has enforcement provisions. Do we hear a lot about enforcement? No. I think that probably reflects state cutbacks and such. But if you look at their page, they talk about really focusing more on willfulness and repetitive cases. We don't expect to find that in error. But if, you know, if we had a, say, severe, egregious case of fertilizer pollution, you would contact the Conservation Commission. We could turn it over to MDAR for enforcement. And instead of usurping the state role there, we would see ourselves as, I think, assistants, you know, working with the state. That's how I would see it, at least.
Thank you. Unless there's further questions, I think it's time for a vote. All those in favor of Article 7, it's a simple majority. Please raise your white card. Okay, all those opposed? I believe it's almost a unanimous vote. Thank you. Now we move to Article 8, a zoning citizens petition. Is there a motion? Yes, Mr. Becker.
I move that the town vote to rezone 29 Harvard Road, lots 35 through 22 from GR to GB, which I assume means general residence to general business. This is in keeping with consistent with the zoning surrounding lot 35 through 21 and 27 Harvard Road. I yield the remainder of my time to my friend of 35 years, Mr. Theodore Maxon.
Mr. Maxon, would you wish to come forward? No, we don't. I already offered that in the motion earlier on, that those that have a pertinence to the article, and it was voted affirmatively. Oh, do we have a second for the motion? I'm sorry. Okay. Now, Mr. Maxon, please.
This portion of Ayer is this
Could you
portion
state
of,
your name and address for the record, please?
I'm Theodore Maxon, Still River, Massachusetts. It was my Aunt Harriet that was the creator of the zoning bylaw in Ayer. She was a proponent of it right from the beginning. She also wanted Ayer to go dry, and that never happened, but you got zoning. But anyway, this portion of Ayer, they colored in the map yellow, and there never has been any residential use there for a long time. In 1921, thereabouts, there was a gas station and a farm tractor place there. And when my brother Cammy and I were young, we used to go down to Mr. Thayer's and to his little store, and we'd pay a nickel for a candy bar. So for as long as I can remember, this has been general business. And I think the map coloring was an oversight, and this article would make it general business rather than residential. And there is no sewage there either. And with the advent of the gas station, the mega gas station across the street, this small portion of town is not suitable for any further residential use. And I hope you approve the change in zoning.
Okay, do we have a report from the planning board? What?
Jeff Tillotson, member of the Planning Board, resident of Oak Ridge Drive. The Planning Board held a duly noticed public hearing on October 12, 2021, after which it voted to unanimously support the citizens' petition of Mr. Ted Maxon to rezone 29 Harvard Road, map 35, lot 22, from general residence to general business.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Maxon.
Mr. Moderator, I have long believed that the town should take every opportunity for our financial stability to zone anything out of residential to anything else, because in general, residential property is red ink into a general fund. The other categories are assets to us. So I would be enthusiastically in support of this, even if the proponent were not my cousin Theodore.
Well, thank you, sir. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to the article? Yes, sir. Please come forward to the microphone.
Yeah, Mr. Moderator, Ken Diskin, 180 Washington Street. I just want to get a clarification on the motion. My clarification is going to request a reading of the second sentence, which I don't think should apply. But I'd like to have the motion read again. Back to me.
To see if the town will vote to rezone 29 Harvard Road, lot 35-22, from general residential to general business. The second part of this article, it turns out,
Wait a minute.
is
Hold on.
incorrect.
Was that the extent of the motion? I thought the motion included the second sentence.
It does. This is in keeping with, consistent with the zoning surrounding lot 35-21 of 27 Harvard Road.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the motion to change and delete the second sentence, just leaving in place the first sentence, which I think is all that applies to what we really want to vote on. I don't think we need a statement about this in keeping or consistent with anything else. So I'd like to propose a change to the motion to delete the second sentence and just keep the first sentence, which would then read, to see if the town will vote to rezone 29 Harvard Road,
We're changing
lot 35-22 from general residence to general business.
Okay, I'll ask the meeting if we can adopt that substantive change to reduce the second sentence to be removed from the article as a motion. All those in favor of removing the second sentence from the petition article, please raise your card. All those opposed? Okay, we are now addressing simply the first sentence to see if the town will vote to rezone 27 Harvard Road, lot 3522, from general residential to general business. Oh, sorry, 29 Harvard Road, lot 35-22. Is there any further discussion on the article?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Mr. Moderator,
Who's speaking?
Kevin Murphy, 20 William Street.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for moderating tonight, and thank you very much to everyone else at the town for the work that you've done. And I just wanted to say that I support this. I'm going to vote for it, and I hope everyone else does. And I look forward to seeing what happens on the property. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
The citizens petition, so doesn't that petitioner have to accept the amendment?
Yes, that would be true. It's not true? Okay. I take it from town council that it's not true. And the fact is that having studied the issue, I learned that the other property is not actually currently listed as general commercial. It's listed as general residential. So the sentence is rather ambiguous and causes confusion to the petition. So any further discussion on Article 8? If not, let's take a vote. All those in favor of Article 8 as amended, please raise your cards. All those opposed? I think that's a unanimous vote. Thank you, Mr. Maxson. And at this time, I'd like to call the Vice Chair of the Finance Committee.
It is moved that the fall special town meeting be dissolved.
That's not debatable. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. The meeting is dissolved. See you all in the spring.